about this because President Trump is doing extraordinarily well, especially compared to past Republican presidents in the black community. We're looking at the polling, we're seeing the trends, we're realizing that black issues today are American issues. So what can we do to take not just the polling, but then make sure that we get bodies to the polls in November? So we started off in Philly, and the first person I thought that I could do this with was, of course, my good buddy Byron Donalds. We share a brain. He is one of my best friends in the halls of Congress, and most importantly, you know, we've been black for a long time. So I couldn't imagine a better person being from Florida, combining with Texas, two of the freest states in the entire country, to take this show on the road and to actually go into the black community and have substantive, nuanced conversations about why we are conservative, why we support President Trump, why we are Republicans. And Byron, he'll tell it, jumped on the idea immediately, started off in Philly, that event went well. Now we are here in Atlanta. We're going to do one more in Milwaukee, going into the convention. And to see the faces here, to see this event continue to grow and build and get some momentum, this is what we're talking about. And you hit the nail on the head. This is not about agreeing with everything that we say. We just want to have a nuanced conversation so we can challenge each other, so we can actually look at the substantive issues that actually impact our everyday lives. That's all we want. And if you hear us out, we would love for you to support President Trump. If you don't, thank you. This is good business. If you don't, support President Trump. But the point I'm making is that we have got to at least have the conversation. And by the way, black excellence is black excellence on both sides of the aisle. Yep. The fact that we are 2 of 435 people in the entire country, it means something, regardless of what side of the aisle that you are on. And that's why we chose to do this.
And Byron, you said how much you're going to pay me. He had to really twist your arm, right?
So I'm expensive. My time is expensive these days. I need to, you know. Wesley came to me and was like, I'm thinking of doing this. And I just looked at him. I said, when do we begin? You know, I talked about it a little bit earlier today. When you're an elected official, you're on a hamster wheel. That doesn't matter if you're a school board member or you're a member of Congress. Constantly on a hamster wheel, you're trying to do everything, and then you still have a life at home. Like, you still gotta go home and like take care of your family, take care of your situations personally. So it gets difficult for elected officials. Yeah, both of those are right. So we just need new flame up here, new lighters up here. But it gets difficult to step away from the day-to-day of being an elected official to do the work that really needs to be done, which is having real conversations in communities with Americans and bringing that message out. So when Wesley said it's cigars, cognac, and Congress, cheers. I had to say, why not? Let's do it. Quick thing I'm also going to say, the one thing I'm really loving, I loved it in Philadelphia, I'm loving it already here today. I'm looking around this room. This room is a very diverse room. Amen. This room is filled with Americans who are also black people. It is filled with Americans who are also white people. Not as many, but I see y'all. You here. It's cool. It's okay. It's filled with Americans from different backgrounds, different thoughts. That's all right, like Wesley said. The number one thing that matters is, are we gonna think openly and honestly about our politics? I just got finished doing a podcast. Wesley and I did it upstairs. Plato, he famously said, and I'm gonna make sure I paraphrase it correctly, those who are not educated in their politics will be ruled by their inferiors. And it is important for citizens of this nation to be educated in what's going on in their politics. And part of education is hearing all sides of an issue. All I'm gonna tell you is, I know I'm right, but Google me. look it up for yourself and then you make a decision. But if you educate yourself, we're going to make great decisions as a people. As obviously we're in the state of Georgia, we're going to do it as Americans, and our country is going to be awesome. And I'm going to piggyback Wesley. Listen, as far as I'm concerned, the 45th president is way better than the 46th president. I mean, it's not close. It's not close. And this isn't about, and I'm gonna leave it to the Army people over here, because I'm sitting between Army brats. So I'm sitting between. Well, you're not really an Army brat, but yeah, you're an Army brat too. And I'm gonna let them talk about it, but they said it earlier, and I'm stealing it. The facts don't care about your feelings. They just don't. We're better than just how we feel about issues. We gotta look about what's really happening with issues so we can have a great country.
It's true. I say it all the time. I'm kind of shocked, I think, at this point sometimes where we let our emotions lead. And I get it, we all have them, and there are emotional issues, but at the end of the day, does that matter? No, it doesn't. I think I say that to my kids, you gotta get over it. And what is best for you and your family, and that's probably similar when it comes to the economy, national security, et cetera. That's also probably best for your neighbors as well, but it starts with being educated. I do wanna just address kind of an elephant in the room all the time, and especially because of the facts, the numbers. There are a total of 4 Black Republican congressmen, correct?
That's correct.
You have 2 in this room. 4 total. And here are 2. Why do you think that is?
That's the question. That's the question that we have to answer pretty often. And it's actually quite simple. My parents grew up in the civil rights movement. My dad is 75 years old. Both my parents went to HBCU. They went to Southern University. That's where they met. During that area, during that time, Black people all voted Democrat. That's just what you did. That's what you were supposed to do. And then imagine generation after generation being told that's just what you do, without really asking the question, because of course you trust what your parents and your parents' parents said. Now, when I think about my parents growing up in the civil rights movement, and I think about their offspring, just the next generation. So my dad's a retired lieutenant colonel in the military. My sister went to West Point in my family first, class of '93. I went to West Point in my family second. My brother is also a West Point graduate. So there's 60 years of military service just in my immediate family. I served 8 years active duty as an Apache helicopter pilot. I went to Cornell University. I earned 3 master's degrees in 4 years from Cornell University. My great-great-grandfather was a slave, born on a plantation, Rosedown Plantation, 33 miles north of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. 3 of his great-great-grandchildren went to West Point. One of his great-great-grandchildren serves in the halls of Congress as one of 4 Black Republicans in a white majority district in a suburb of Houston, Texas, that President Trump would have won by 25 points, and I won by almost 30 points. I tell you that story because that is the breadth of this country. That's the progress of this country. The issues that we have today are not the issues that we had then. One thing my father always tells me, literally every single day when I was a child, he goes, son, when I was growing up, I had it difficult. You don't have it difficult. So you can't compare my problems to your problems. And you have no excuses for your standing on the shoulders of giants. So at some point, I had to make the decision to realize that this ain't 60 years ago. We're gonna talk about Jim Crow here in a second. This is not Jim Crow. I want to talk about the issues that are today, and what we do know is that we have matured as a country to get to the point to where Black issues are American issues. What's happening at our border is a disaster. Inflation is a disaster. Safety in this country is a huge issue, and it happened over the course of the past 3 years. This happened. You have one party and one candidate that is running against all of it, that wants to stop it. He wants to fix the immigration, probably 11 million people entering our country illegally. Give me a break. Hyperinflation like we've never seen in my lifetime. Give me a break. You have one president running to stop those things, and the other one is not. And at that point, I don't want to talk about race anymore, because this impacts every single person in this room. And if we don't have a nuanced conversation, we're going to have 4 more years of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And that is unacceptable for Black people, for white people, for Asian people, for Hispanic people. I am sick and tired and sick and tired of the Democrat Party just taking advantage of the black vote because they've always gotten it and they've always had it. That is no longer acceptable. I'm the great-great-grandson of a slave. I understand where we've come from. And by God, I'm standing on their shoulders. I am living, I am literally living Dr. Martin Luther King's story. I'm being judged, not by the color of my skin, but by the content of my character. That's why I'm sitting before you today. So while I honor them, I am not just going to continue to vote for a party that has done nothing for us.